Assalamualaikum and good morning to Dr. Kamaluddin bin Razwan. Today we from Group D, Inventory Management. We will present about the topic that we have choose based on our group assignment, which is food industry. This slide is prepared for Dr. Kamaluddin bin Razwan, and this slide are prepared by our group, which are Nurul Huzaifah binti Jisam, entry number 261476, me, Muhammad Izzat bin Ismail, 267646, Chang Yining, 271952, and also Xia Jiayi, 272150.
Hi, my name is Chang Yining. My entry number is 271952. Now I would like to talk about the industry background. The industry that we choose in this paper is the food industry. The food industry is very significant for every country. It plays a crucial role in food safety, public health, nutrition, and the social development. The food industry is a complicated global network. It involves the supply, consumption, catering of foodstuffs and services worldwide. Furthermore, a tremendous number of trained and untrained employees are hired by the food industry. In 2006, more than 1.5 million of jobs in the United States and 4 million jobs in Europe were generated by the food industry. The factors that contribute to the increasing demand in the global food industry is the population levels, increased distribution, and the health awareness. There is a large variety of areas served by the food industry. First, agriculture and farming. It is a process of producing food and other necessary products through planting and growing domestic animals. Second, food processing. It is a process and technology to convert agricultural products into food products for human consumption. Third, marketing. It is advertising and publicity of food products to spread the information about food. The global food industry is dominated by a group of multinational companies including Gardenia Bakeries. Gardenia Bakeries is a joint venture company of Singapore-listed food group. Apart from Malaysia, Gardenia also runs several subordinate companies in Singapore and the Philippines. The founder of Gardenia is Harati Srislokam. Up to now, the labels of Gardenia breads are still printed with Uncle Slokam's original receipt to commemorate his contribution. The Gardenia brand is related to good taste, freshness, trust, and reliability. It offers affordable price and also halal certified bakery products that can be consumed by Muslims. Therefore, this enables Gardenia to take lead in the competitive market. The vision of Gardenia is to become the top company in the food industry, and the mission is to offer consumers with the highest quality baked food and related food products, thus provide fair returns for shareholder investment. The product innovation is important to help Gardenia catching up with the ever-changing consumer demand. For example, Gardenia is the first company to use G-Log to ensure the product freshness, aroma, and taste. Next, I would like to talk about the food industry challenge. First, shelf life monitoring is a major challenge due to the limited shelf life of food products. Shelf life is the time span during which the food product will remain safe and obey with the compliance with the labeling statement of nutrition data. It is needed to be concerned to provide safe and quality food product in line with the consumer demand, thus reducing the waste. Second, end-to-end traceability is a critical challenge since the public trust in the food supply chain has dropped sharply. Traceability is a function that enables tracking the food flow in the process of production, processing, and distribution. It is important for the food safety and operational efficiency. Without an effective and integrated system will lead to difficulty in tracking products and comply with recall requirements. Third, transportation of food is complex since the entire process is sensitive to time and the condition. To carry the food product, it requires better route, efficient loading and unloading. In addition, proper transportation planning such as specific temperature control is needed for perishable food to keep the food fresh and safe during the transportation process.
Hi, my name is Xia Jiayi, method number 272150. Now I will continue to present about production and inventory strategy. There are many production and inventory strategies in the food and beverage industry. The most famous method used in the food and beverage industry are combination make to order and make to store. The industry for food and beverage must distinguish the characteristics of MTO and MTS. Firstly, the MTO will provide a variety of customer specific and usually more expensive products, while the MTS system provides a variety of manufacturer specific and usually cheaper products. Besides, MTO performance indicators focus on orders, such as average response times and average order delay, while MTS performance indicators focus on products such as line item fill rate and average inventory level. Now, I will tell you why the poor MTO of poor MTS are not suitable to use in the food and beverage industry. MTO cannot produce a lot of food in time because need many steps to do it, but food is a daily need and require high demand among customers, so MTO cannot satisfy the need of customers. Meanwhile, poor MTS also not appreciated in the food and beverage industry because food is counted as a product that easily perishable, so food cannot store for a long period. Therefore, this will cause waste food when the food spoilage. The benefits that use the combination of MTO and MTS are bringing the lower cost, reduce waste, and improve customer satisfaction. For example, although the cost combining MTO and MTS will increase in the short term, but it will decrease in the long term. Besides, collaboration program refers to the organization and business working together, which can be seen as a concept that goes beyond normal business relationship. Collaboration program is very important for the food and beverage industry because it can integrate knowledge and bring broader capabilities to the innovation process, such as understanding the dynamics relationship between the packaging and processing industry. For example, the introduction of new food processing technology put additional requirements on food packaging and inventory environment. This will require closer cooperation between the packaging, inventory, and processed food industry to achieve overall development. The next importance is to help plan and redesign the process. This will often allow sharing risks and rewards so that this can make decisions related to improving the accuracy of inventory forecast. Therefore, inventory performance will be good and there will not shortage of inventory of excess inventory. Nowadays, the food industry always use enterprise resource planning to encourage collaboration between employees. When collaborations between employees, they use ERP system in conjunction with an inventory management program, which can be woven for the company to deal with iterations and track expiration dates by notifying users of inventory status in real time. This is because the expiration dates are very important in the food industry. When the food storage is exceeding the expired date, this means the wastage of food industries. Therefore, the collaboration program can reduce the wastage in food industry. Next, inventory location is very important. Inventory location is the location where the inventory of a specific category is stored, such as raw material, work in process, or finished goods. There are several reasons need to consider when designing the best inventory location for the food and beverage industry. Firstly, the best inventory location for the food industry is proposed that nearby their plant location. This is because the demand range for the food industry is high, so the plant must require the raw material from the inventory as soon as possible to process their production of food, or need to transport the finished food to the inventory faster. When the plant location is nearby the inventory location, they don't worry about daily food productions that can be not stored in time. Besides, the inventory location also must be near the sources of raw material. This is because one to make sure that can receive the raw material in time. This can let the production of food will not be interrupted and can continue to produce to satisfy the demand of customer for food. Third is the inventory location cannot be direct exposed to the sun for a long period because some types of food cannot withstand too hot weather and too high temperatures because this will be spoilage. This causes that the food cannot be stored and cause a loss for the food industry. So the inventory location must have some facility to measure the temperature in the warehouse, because the temperature control for the food can measure the quality of food. Lastly, the inventory location for the food industry must be equipped with a good transportation system. This is because food is daily needs, so the supplied food needs to transport to the customers daily. As the food inventory locates in a rural that do not have good routes, infrastructure and transportation, this may be causing a shortage of food supply, because this will delay the delivery time of food. In addition, I will explain about sourcing policies in the food and beverage industry. Sourcing policies refers to a method for arranging the purchase of customer inventory. Usually, the food industry can be divided into two types, which are the food manufacturing industry and food serving industry. So there are two types of sourcing policy that can be utilized. When in the food manufacturing industry, it prefers to use the sourcing policies of deliveries from supply store. This is because the food manufacturing industry, which process the food manufactured product, will have a long expired date, so they will not face any food storage problems. Therefore, when the customer demand for the food manufactured product increase, the food products will directly distribute to customers from their inventory. The inventory management of food manufacturing industry must be well planned, such as the delivery lead time, inventory accuracy, and others, to ensure enough inventory and avoid the shortage in the inventory of the food products to satisfy the needs of customers. Meanwhile, the sourcing policies that used in the food serving industry is delivery suppliers from production. This is because the food serving industry is always made to order, so it does not require to store too many inventory. In this context, the food service industry focuses more on customer service than serve warm and fresh dishes to the customer instead of cooked dishes that can decrease the customer experience. However, the raw material used in making this type of food industry must have their own inventory to ensure continuous production to the food serving industry. Lastly, inventory ownership also is very important, because the owner will be responsible for the cost of capital, which is including the cost of scrap that accumulated in the inventory. Today, the food industry has quickly begun to accept vendors managed inventory (BMI). When using BMI in the food industry, ownership can be delegated. There are two types of inventory ownership. Firstly, inventory ownership is always transferred from the supplier to the customer when a customer issues sale-based food for self-consumption. This means that the inventory owned by supplier is held by the buyers, and the ownership of the good is only transferred to the buyer at the time of consumption. Therefore, the customer will bear the risk of the food for the period when the customer sends out the food for self-consumption. The delivery cost and transportation costs will be borne by customer of manufacturers, and they must be responsible for the risk of damage to food delivery. Therefore, they will share the inventory risk, so this will become a customer-based inventory. Second, inventory ownership can also be transferred from the supplier to the customer when customer receive food is based on time-based ownership. This can be the time specific in the contract between the supplier and the customer. The food supplier will be bear all risk of the food inventory until the customer receives it, which means that the inventory ownership will be only transferred when the customer receives it. The ownership will bring more disadvantages to supplier, but it can bring benefits to customer. This is because the food supplier will be responsible for paying the transportation of delivery costs when delivering food to customer, and bear the risk of damage when transporting, so that the customer need to pay the price of food only. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, I will explain about the information related dimension. and also decision making relates dimension. Firstly, demand visibility. Secondly, access to information. Thirdly, IT configuration. Next, replenishment monitoring and ordering. Next, control limit. And lastly, replenishment and shipment decision. Firstly, I will explain about the demand visibility. First, in the food industry, consumer demand is one of the most dynamic elements of the supply chain. Okay, as we can see, the overall end-to-end process, from sourcing to manufacturing to distribution, must be carefully prepared on and consistently handled to ensure the quality and performance of food supply chain. Secondly, the emerging technology is helping members of the food processing industry enhance their supply chain management and efficiency. Thirdly, as we can see, the result of the coronavirus epidemic, the food industry is adapting in entirely different ways. The retailer competes to maintain some goods on market shelf and producers change their manufacturing plans based on realistic and ever-changing demand. And lastly, in such situation, real-time visibility at the retail levels of transactional operation and inventory levels will help production planners strengthen the reliability of the forecast. As we can see, it allows them to think about steps ahead before orders come and further manage supply which demand efficiently. Next, I will explain about the access to information. Firstly, the food industry is turned into a product or a dynamic. Okay, as you can see, many food industries are developing day-to-day within the ingredient rates of the population to complete the public needs consumed by the world population. The food industry includes regulation, education, research and development, financial service, manufacturing, agriculture, food processing, and lastly, marketing. Over the decades, technology has transformed how a company generates foods through technology, robotic information, and processing techniques. According to ING, technology helps food producers to produce better effects for a growing world population. In fact, we can see there are 7.5 billion people in the world, and that means greater food demand this year. It can enhance the shelf life and quality of food by using technology to improve production and packaging. Next, I will explain about the IT configuration. Firstly, data capture, preservation, analysis, and retrieval associated with information structure. It is important in the sense of the food safety management to facilitate decision making in a short time frame, potentially encouraging decisions to be taken and procedures to be enforced in real time. Secondly, the food safety management system are focused on database, providing detail on microorganisms related to the digestion of foodborne pathogens, the reaction of bacteria to the atmosphere, and the characteristics of foodstuff and processing conditions. These databases are used to classify pathogens in food at the level of organisms using applied systematically in the automated way. Thirdly, about the importance of ERP application strategy. We can see modern ERP technologies have developed in the manufacturing, sales, and delivery stage to feed monitors, database of product and requirement. And lastly, the core processes supported by ERP provide the process level detail by the material status level required of food safety. As we can see, the key to maintain an item of any type to a specifications level depending on process change on subsequent circumstances such as the standard of food safety for the item. The food safety problem with various systems and database can be overcome by the use of configurations to specify food safety standards. The best alternative for the food and beverage industry is to leverage the correctly optimized ERP features for safe and food processing, safe food release, and precise quantitative traceability of non-conforming products. And next, I will explain about the replenishment, monitoring, and also ordering. Firstly, stock replenishment is the pace at which the product moves from the source to the suppliers to warehousing and also picking and delivering location in the supply chain. Okay, as we can see, by ensuring effective order and line item fill rates in the food industry, the goal of stock replenishment is to keep the product running across the supply chain at an optimal rate. This method helps avoid expensive overstocking of the product. Secondly, stock replenishment is one of the most critical aspects. It is because it helps to ensure that the right stock is on the shelf at the right time while keeping inventory holding costs down and consumers satisfied. In the food industry, product supplies are frequently edible, which impact the way food producers handle inventory. Thirdly, a company needs the right food external windows to control the supply chain. And lastly, a good replenishment system in the food industry will make the replenishment process more cost effective. Automating stock level monitoring and routine replenishment order can save a huge amount of management time. More difficult tasks such as assortment preparation, supplier negotiation, customer service, exception management, and worker development can be redeployed for the price. Okay, next I will explain about the control limits. Okay, first, the importance about the HACCP framework, which is hazard, risk, and critical control points. Okay, the food industry, including the food service industry, is currently supporting the use of HACCP and its value as the best method currently possible for foodborne disease mitigations and prevention. A company in the food industry must control all the foods to ensure that the food is not beyond the limits of production and also ensure the food is safe for consumers. HACCP goes beyond finished food product testing. As we can see, throughout the manufacturing process, it helps to identify, pick, and avoid hazards. These include risks that are physical, chemical, and biological. In brief, there are 8 critical control points that our company needs to manage in the HACCP system, which are food purchasing, delivery and receipt, food storage, food production, service or display of food, cleaning and maintenance, personal standard, and also hygiene, staff training, and also calibration for the checks. Okay, last, I will explain about the replenishment and shipment decision. Here, replenishment of inventory is often used to describe both ready to sell the inventory and supplier receive raw material. It is important for the replenishment of the inventory. Secondly, stocking level strategy are very depending on the size and specialty of the business. It means that the company should be tailor-made to fit the needs of the inventory and supply chain. When it comes to planning, if a company starts from scratch, we have to be sure that all parties involved, particularly the long-term consumers and suppliers, are aware of the status of the goods. And lastly, the shipping and receiving are important parts of all food processing and warehousing operations, include large and small productions. Raw material, ingredients, or packaging, material flow in and finished goods move out to consumer and or distribution center. Each operation manages this operation a bit differently.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera to Dr. Kamarudin. My name is Nurul Huzaifah binti Gimsun, my matric number 261476. In this video, I will present about section 3, conclusion and recommendation. Firstly, I will talk about pros and cons of inventory management practice in food industry. Firstly, pros of inventory management practice in the food industry, which has helped a lot for tracking inventory. However, for a company or industry is desperately needs tracking together the information used to identify the risk or damage to each product or material. Example of tracking that often practiced or used in the industry food, such as serial number tracking, barcode, and IT. Inventory is the tracking, the basic to the control in the industry management process. This tracking is able to help and justify all the matter in industry put, such as require a lot of research on quality and quantity. Secondly is assistant for integrated planning and implementation. The thing is to focus on the enterprise resources planning, which is ERP, help a lot in customer service. To improve can meet temporary demand and also can optimize resources including inventory. In addition, can also reduce cost. Although the inventory system is help a lot to providing research on very important information needed in food industry. Thirdly, we're talking about strategic for stable price. For example, the use of FVC analysis is very helpful in inventory management in the food industry. For example, to know the item or product is category A, B, C, which is the best-selling product in the food industry. However, there are number of uncomfortable external costs in the food industry that require accurate and efficient research, which is of inventory management using allow to make a better decision about this menu for the customer. Next is minimizes losses. If they happen to the product or item that obsolete, undergoing damage, was wasted and others, but the inventory management system help a lot to the minimizing losses due to the stock or inventory that have been stored in warehouses or in the store according to the needs and trend. Last but not least, about approach of inventory management practice in the food industry is assist uninterrupted production in food industry management. Inventory management also help in ensuring that there's no disruption to the production process caused by just a shortage of raw material. To ensure the stock quantity is always sufficient and can maintain smoother production producer in organization. For example, the use of just-in-time JIT in inventory management in the food industry that help a lot in organizing raw material orders delivered by supplier that are directly related to the production schedule. JIT is the best method to reducing cost in inventory management. Next, we move to the cons or disadvantages of inventory management practice in the food industry, which is high and expensive cost. The use of this system is very useful in some things, but in the market, this management software has high cost and very expensive. In this case, although the system has a great benefit or function as well as the market, the whole business better and more efficient, but it requires high cost, sometimes unfit to use maintain such as software. For example, such as ERP inventory management software. Next, we're talking about complicated use. The use of management system is often used in handling inventory in the food industry, but inventory handling relatively easy, but learn how to handle is a task. Special training session and manual must be adhered to in order to the successful run this system. But learning how to operate a system can be burdensome and even complicated, such as ERP. However, the system is also help a lot to the handling inventory management in the food industry. Other than that, risk of system management malfunction is the one of cons of inventory management practice in the food industry. The possibility of system malfunction remain one of the main problem for every computerized system. Damaged hard drives, power failures, and others problems can result in the loss of necessary information. At very least, business operations are hampered because they are unable to access the data they need. Business owner must always back up the data to the protect against system failures, such as cases of lack of use result in running out of stock due to the response such as provision of essential component of raw materials. Next, cons of inventory management practice in the food industry, which is lack of control over time. Business or organization is necessary depending on functionality for supplier in each order makes an organization for risk of delaying receipt of customer good. If an industry does not meet the needs of customer, but the business can be run in other location, that will have a bad effect on the industry or organization if they happen often. This is for example, the often happen just in time. Last but not least, we will talking about management complexity, which is the one cons of inventory management practice in the food industry. Although the use of inventory management system has a many good effect that can handle inventory quite easily, but learning how to operate it is quite difficult or complicated. Special training requirement and manual must be handled to ensure success in operating the system. Learning it takes a long time and also burdensome and also quite complex. However, once successful installed and the training completed, it can be blessing for the business success. Next, we'll talking about recommendation. Therefore, there's some suggestion or recommendation to improve inventory management practice in the food industry. Firstly, is inventory tracking of asset. If there is a need for certain raw or material or product that are not easily in the warehouse, for these cases, there are steps taken as well for the same location to be identified using the software. Product tracking help a lot to save time and energy of the person possible for finding it, as well as the matter of investing elsewhere, as well for the productivity. For example, such as we can using through barcode, serial number, and other identification. This is because it can determine how many items an industry or organization has. Extensive tracking system help control inventory and also monitor change time. Secondly is stock inventory optimization. Inventory management method practice in an industry also help a lot to optimize inventory. In addition, it also help to determine the point of reorganization in the manufacturing process, that is for when new order for the preparation are placed together with the appropriate amount of inventory. Also can help maintain and manage all of the company operating capital budget. Last but not least is service management. In the case of the food industry, dealing with the service, such as management system assist in tracking the cost of material used to provide service and include the cost of cleaning, supply, and other. For the conclusion, the food industry is quite different from other industry, because as we know, food industry also has a large inventory. The food industry highly developed industry with a lot of competition, but the inventory management system is very important in managing all the inventory matters efficiently. Inventory management is also capable to detect specific transmission in case of problem. Therefore, there are large amount of shared data that can provide insight into the security, delivery, and excess stock issue. Each food industry refill the inventory in different ways, but inventory management also play an important role to managing inventory in the food industry. That's all from us. Thank you so much.